Hey, welcome to the live discussion. This is sponsored by SSMK and Fruit Bearer Ministries. This is the live discussion, gender roles. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight is gender roles. We do apologize. There was some technical difficulties, but we are here now and we are ready and excited to have this discussion with you guys tonight. And so tonight we're going to be talking about gender roles once again. Should men pay all the bills or should women do all of the housework? So we're going to be talking about this tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much for being tuned in. Once again, thank you so much for your support. I have some guests with me tonight. These are some wonderful people. We have a man of God along with us tonight. His name is JB. We have two beautiful, wonderful women of God, Devin and Seth. I call her Seth, but she pronounced her real name a little bit later. But hey, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. And I'm going to go ahead and start with JB. Just tell us just a little bit about yourself, your age, your occupation, and anything else you'd like to know about us before we get the discussion started.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. My name is Jared Bogarty. I am 47 years old. I hail out of the great state of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm also in insurance, and I have a lot of background in banking too. So, about 20 years in banking. So I got a good handle on this money thing.
Yes, sir. And let's go ahead and go to Devin.
Hi, my name is Devin Chestnut. I will be 40 in a couple of months, and I am a data analyst and also an entrepreneur.
All right, go ahead, Seth.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Sonia. That's my first and my middle name. I'm 34 years old. I am a retail auditor by trade, a minister by purpose. Shout out to my Kingdom Culture Church family, Pastor James W. Bird and my first lady, Taj Bird. Just happy to be here and happy to have this discussion with y'all.
Absolutely. And so glad to have you guys. Thank you so much for participating in this conversation. So let's go ahead and get the discussion started. I just wanted to talk about this. I wanted to pose this question first, just to get things going, just to spark some dialogue. This is the first question, and this is, I guess we'll start with from the top to the bottom. We'll start with JB and then hear from the two ladies. You guys can jump in whenever you like, but let's start with you, JB. Do you believe that the provider role in the Bible speaks about just solely being a provider monetarily, or is it more to that?
It's actually more to that. Monetary is just the thing that we use today to measure how we take care of things. Also, as being a provider, you got to take care of a person's spirit, their body as well, especially when you get sick. You know what I mean? You want somebody to be there for you when you can't take care of yourself. And you also want to be there for somebody else when they can't take care of themselves. So it goes back and forth. So the provider thing really comes down to everybody. I put it to you like that, because you have to have somebody to support the breadwinner. You know what I mean? Because nobody can do it by themselves.
And ladies, what is your perspective concerning that? Do you feel like when the Bible talks about a man being a provider, is it solely monetarily?
You want to go first, or doesn't matter?
Oh, I can go ahead and go first.
Okay, I'll go after you. I'll go after
Okay.
you.
I totally agree with JB, that provider, like if you replace the word provider with giver, then that brings a broader perspective to it. If both spouses are pouring into each other, then no one goes without. So, yes, there is a certain element that is more indicative of what a man is supposed to do, but a woman provides things as well. It's the same level of requirement, but in different ways. It's the same level of effort that's required, just in a different way. Because the Proverbs 31 woman, she was providing as well. And it wasn't just monetarily that she was providing or that she was bringing things into the household. So I definitely agree with JB on this one.
And I also agree with JB as well. And because when I think of a provider, I think of the word provision. And most people will be like, oh, well, provision and provider kind of go hand in hand. Well, I'm thinking about provision. That man of the household, he has become a pro with carrying out and executing the vision of God, not only for himself, but for his family, his wife. And also he has a provider provides that affection, that love. You can't provide something that you can't give. So he gives that, and it's reciprocated in his household as well. Provider provides integrity, trust, loyalty, honesty, all of that wrapped up in one.
Yes, I love all of your answers, and I agree with everybody. I agree with what JB said. I agree with Devin. I agree with Seth. I agree with you guys because I know it's important for a man to be able to hold down a job, to be able to take care of and maybe the rent, the mortgage, some of the bills. But I don't believe that it's solely the man's responsibility to pay every bill. Because think about this. Let's think about this before you come together. You have separate bills. So you got your car note as a wife, his car note as a husband, the electric bill, the gas bill, the water bill, the rent, the mortgage, and the insurance, the car insurance. Do you expect him to pay all that? Most men, they can't probably in most cases afford to support all of the things that you have and his at the same time. I mean, that's just being real. Now, if a man has the ability, that's something different. Now, I would love to have the ability to be able to pay every bill. That would be ideal for me. If I had the financial gain, or if I had finances and I had a great job and I was making a lot of money and my wife didn't have to work, I would love that. But in most cases nowadays, it takes two people financially to maintain a home. It's not like back in the days, unfortunately, when the man went to work and he made all the money and the woman stayed home and took care of, the household duties and also the kids. But in our case, being single, saved with no kids, we don't have any kids. So I think it's important for us to understand that as well, as far as the role of a provider, like Devin was saying, as Seth was saying, it's just more than money. What about your emotional needs? What about feeling protected physically? What about the other things that he can provide as far as when it comes to being a provider? I think Seth was saying you didn't use provider, but you used another word. What was it that you used, Seth?
Giver.
A giver. And so I think you're definitely helpers of one another in that aspect. And I know there's some people that may agree that a man should pay all of the bills. But when you think about that, the water bill and all those bills together, do you feel like that is fair to a man?
The fairness, it depends on it depends on the type of woman that a man chooses. If a man chooses a woman that is high maintenance but low effort, that creates issue. Me personally, I'm a very frugal person. I live a very modest lifestyle, but I like nice things. So I thrift. So I buy things on clearance. So I buy, I prioritize the things that I want that are luxuries and do without other things. But there are women that want a man to pay for their hair and nails to be done every week, that want them to buy them jewelry all the time. It really, and this is where I really, I pray for my brothers, because choosing the wrong woman can devastate a man financially.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just the facts. There are a lot of women out here still that will marry a man just solely based off of what he makes, and will kind of lie in wait until he makes a certain amount, and then she breaks away and is able to go away with up to half of what the man has. And those types of women make it harder for those of us that that do believe in the balance and do believe in the fact that you know, a man is more than him being able to pay a bill. You know, he has to be mentally stable. He has to be spiritually sound. He has to have common sense. You know, it doesn't matter. A man can make $100,000 a year and be a fool. I would rather have a man make less and be able to provide less financially, but he's excelling in other areas. So it definitely depends, fellas. It depends on the woman that you choose. It's very important. Watch how she pays her own bills. Watch how she, you know, goes about her own life. See what she does on her own, and that would dictate to you the type of woman that she would be in marriage.
Absolutely great point. Absolutely great point. I do think it depends on the woman that a man chooses concerning if his pockets are going to be dry or they're going to build wealth together. Because I know some of these women can really, when it comes to finances, really hurt a man's pockets because he's just trying to please her. He's just trying to do some nice things for her. And if she's high maintenance, like you were saying, and likes to have a lot of gifts and likes to, you know, likes to find her things in life, which is nothing wrong with it. But I believe that whoever you decide to get with, you have to be able to afford her. I have to be able to afford the woman that I'm interested in. And so that's important. That's why it's so important to have these conversations with whoever you're interested in and whoever you like, so that you can come to a common ground and make sure, hey, I think that I can afford her, or I feel like we can build wealth together, because that's important to me, building wealth together. I think it's important to have a woman with that mentality. I believe that teamwork makes the dream work.
It does.
Anybody else want to jump in there concerning that point?
No, I totally agree with every single thing that she just said, because it's true. It's so true. I don't even have anything to add to it. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
How about you, JB?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that I think a lot of people get into relationships, they don't get into a relationship with good faith. And I'll explain to you what that means. Generally, when you get married, you become one, okay? And you're supposed to run that marriage just like a business. I tell anybody, man, when you get into a marriage, your marriage should have a purpose. You know what I mean? You have kids, you have finances, you have, you want to get rid of debt, you guys want to travel, you want to do a whole lot of things. Well, guess what? As a CEO, you have to bring everybody to the books and just say, hey, look, this is what we got. You know what I mean? And it should be no surprises and none of that. And if you lay everything out on the table, everybody sees where the money's going, everybody's on the same page. So nobody has unrealistic expectations of what can happen and what can't happen. And as the head of the house, as the man, basically, technically, your job is to run that house like the CEO, technically, because you're supposed to set the vision, you're supposed to set the tone, you're supposed to say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do, and everybody's supposed to do it. And he's supposed to hold everybody accountable. And also his wife is supposed to hold him accountable for the things that he said he's supposed to do. So my thing is this: you have to make sure that there's transparency. There's also have to be agreed upon milestones that you're supposed to set for yourselves. And then when you do reach those milestones, you should celebrate, because that's the whole purpose of having your marriage have a particular purpose. And if you don't have a purpose in your marriage, then it's going to be all over the place. It doesn't have a direction. And like I said earlier, God don't bless mess. And if you don't have a plan for your household, if you don't have a plan for your wife, if you don't have a plan for your kids, then, I mean, what are you really doing? You know what I mean? That's just my whole thing. Transparency is key. Like I always tell people all the time, like when my mom and dad came up, they only had one bank account. They worked out of it. Hey, they paid all the bills, whatever was left over, they split it up. You know what I mean? And they did whatever they wanted to do after that. The household got taken care of, because no one person was greater than the whole house. You see what I'm saying? And I'll put it to, like, a lot of times people like to try to take the marriage and make it, how should I say this? Make it an idol. You know what I mean? What they'll do is they'll turn around and say, well, I'm working on my marriage, I'm working on marriage. Well, what are you working on your husband? Are you working on your wife? You see what I'm saying? The marriage is just a reflection of what's going on, but technically you're supposed to work on each other. You're supposed to build each other. You're supposed to cultivate each other. And in order for you to do that, you have to have transparency. And then what happens is once you have transparency, if somebody operates outside of that, you say, hey, this is what we agreed upon. This is not what's going to happen. So that way you have, somewhere you have to go with that particular situation. So my thing is this, you have to be transparent and you have to be honest with each other. And if you have somebody working, operating in good faith, then there shouldn't be a problem. But if you get with somebody that's not operating in good faith, that's trying to have hot girl summers or whatever, and you might want to reevaluate. You might want to reevaluate your selection of women. You know what I mean?
So true.
Yeah, man, I feel you make some good points about purpose and having direction. And I agree with that. When you come together, I think finances should be discussed because as I always say, and as I've done some research, I know that when it comes to marriages and divorces, I know that financial issues and I know that sexual issues are number 1 and 2 for divorces in Christendom, not outside of Christ, not people who don't have a relationship with Christ, but in Christendom with people who do have a relationship with Christ. So it's a very important conversation to have concerning your finances. And let me ask you this, just to stay on that just a little bit more, is what about when you come together, if you're interested in someone, how do you feel about discussing credit scores? Is that something that you think is important when building a relationship with somebody, when the relationship becomes serious? Is it important to discuss credit scores and your credit?
Absolutely. As a banking background, absolutely. I'm gonna tell you why. Because you have to know what you're dealing with. Like in every situation, you're gonna have one person that's a saver, and you're gonna have one person that's a spender. And y'all gonna have to come to an agreement and say, hey, look, this is what we're gonna save toward, and this is what we're gonna spend. Hey, listen, I understand you want the desires of your heart. Baby, tell me what you want, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna get there. Don't ever tell somebody you can't have something. You come to them and say, I'm gonna show you how you can get it. And people will want to listen to you more when you say, hey, this is how we're going to approach getting that. You're not telling somebody, no, you say, hey, in order for us to do that, this is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And people are rally around you when you need them the most, because they're going to remember that time when you said, hey, you know what? He didn't come out and say no. He showed me what we're going to have to do to get that. And as a leader, you have to be open to listening to other people. You got to have an ear for the people.
Ladies?
Yep. Yes,
Any
I
thoughts
believe
on
everything.
that?
Yes, I believe everything should be put out on the table as well. Not only the credit, how much debt, how much do you owe in debt? Do you pay your bills on time? If you don't pay your bills on time, what are you doing to gain extra income? Like, are you lazy? Are you ambitious? What is it? So it's a mindset thing.
I agree. All those things go into each other. Credit score, credit history, what the debt is. Is it just frivolous credit card stuff? Is it student loan stuff? Is it medical debt? Is it, it all, anybody that does not want to share the information with someone that they are seriously pursuing, that should be a huge red flag, because where your heart is where your money goes. What your passions are is where your money goes. And if your money is going to other places besides your tithes, your bills, your paying down debt, doing things to improve your credit, then you really have to consider, okay, is this person really someone that I want to link my life to? Is this someone that I want to have a joint checking account with? If you don't trust the person enough to have a checking account with, or share a credit card account with, that's not the person you need to be marrying.
Right.
It has a lot to do with character.
Oh, I agree with you. It does. It does have a lot to do with character and integrity. So both of you ladies made a great point, as well as JB, concerning the credit score. And let me switch it real quick on you. And so if you find out that a person has a certain amount of debt or a certain amount of, if the credit score is not up to par, would that deter you from getting into a relationship with someone if their credit was terrible and if they had a lot of debt? Would you postpone being in a relationship with them because of that?
Well, the question is for me is, do you have a strategy to get out of debt? Do you have a strategy for building up your credit? Do you even want to get out of debt or build up your credit?
Right, right.
And then we'll go from there.
That's a
Yes,
very
yes.
good point.
I want
Some
I want to
people
know
are
what kind of debt you got. You know what I mean? If it's student loan
right.
debt, it's debt you can't really get rid of. You know,
Yeah.
I need to know how much. If we talking about six figures, I might want to pass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a hard pass. That's
Right.
debt. Credit card debt is one thing, but you know you can't get rid of student loan debt. But I understand if you're doing something with your degree take care of itself and pay for itself. I don't have a problem with that. But if it gets to a point where you can't pay it, then that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see this comment here from Ms. Dennis. If you ain't put a ring on my finger, don't ask for that information.
That needs to be known before the ring. I'm sorry. That's
It
you,
does.
you got to know. And some people really are financially illiterate. Some people really do not understand how your FICO score works, how your credit score works, how your debt to income ratio works, a lot of people don't understand what companies look for when you go to apply for credit, what a hard inquiry is versus a soft inquiry. A lot of people don't know those things. So what you don't know, you can't really, acknowledge, and what you don't acknowledge, you can't change. So there would have to be a follow-up conversation to finding out that amount. Like, okay, well, do you understand how this is going to affect in the future? If we get married and we go to buy a house, our interest rate is going to be insane because your credit score is this and my credit score is that. So there's a lot that goes into it, but there are really people still that don't know what all of that means. So it would have to be a conversation.
And what you're saying, you make a great point. I think it's very important. And that's one thing about being humble too, as men and women, because if you have a partner, if you have a mate that knows about credit, that is financially literate and can help get you out of debt, and it's better with the money, is better at managing the money, I think it's important to maybe say, you know what, honey or sweetie, I'm going to go ahead and let you handle the finances because you do a lot better with it. You have a strategy. Your strategy is better than mine, because I know some people aren't good with saving money. Some people aren't good with managing money. And it is so important to me because I'm the kind of person who does pay my bills on time. I pay the bills on time. One thing for sure, and I said this, that whoever I decide to be with, she's not going to have to worry about a place to live, ever have to worry about a place to live, because I'm going to make sure that mortgage and rent is paid. Now, the other stuff we can work along with, but I'm going to make sure of that. And so I think that's a conversation that you have to have with your mate. And like JB was saying, like Devin was saying, Seth was saying, these are conversations I think that you got to have way ahead of time before even trying to pursue something serious and to the engagement and then to marriage. I think you got to talk about those things and move into those steps in that process before you're talking about marrying somebody. I got to know that kind of stuff. And if you don't want to reveal that, then I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry, miss. This is important to me. Whatever's important to you, I think you should discuss it. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about housework when it comes to housework. And so I know some people believe in the traditional roles because the discussion is about, should men pay all the bills and should women do all the housework? Now, I'll start it off by saying this. I do believe in some gender roles. Now, if I'm married, I don't want my woman taking out the trash. I mean, I just don't feel comfortable with that. Those are just some things that's just something that I don't feel comfortable with. I'll go ahead and take out the trash, and I don't mind helping with the housework. How do y'all feel about that? Do you feel like, or I'll start with JB. How do you feel about that? Are you cool with doing some of the housework? Is that all on the woman?
No, I'm going to put it like this. The more you take off of her, the more she'll be receptive to what you need later on. You know what I mean? There's certain things I'm not going to let my wife do. She's not going to be out here cutting no grass. She's not going to be cutting no bushes. You know what I'm saying? That's my type of stuff. And besides that, that lets me to let off some type of steam. You know what I mean? Certain things you just don't do. But here's the thing. If she needs me to wash dishes or something like that, or help her fold her clothes, that I'm going to use that time for us to bond. A lot of times people look at housework and chores as something that you got to do, But you can also use that time to bond with that particular person. Have conversations about how was your day today, why you doing that, and it makes housework a whole lot easier. And I think people look too much into, hey, whether you do this or whether you do not, whether you do that. And besides, I like cooking too. You know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, you want to let somebody know you appreciate them by doing some things for them from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Ladies, your thoughts?
You want to go ahead?
Okay. I'm like,
No,
go ahead.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I mean it now it's 2020, you know. I believe certain things, yes, like you gentlemen said, as far as like cutting the grass and taking out the trash. But other stuff, I believe just communication is key. If the woman does the majority of cooking, but the man wants to do like here once in a while just to, you know, let her rest or whatever, I don't see any problem with that. Or just with any other of the chores as well. So it's just a communication thing. I think everything should be known up front. Hey, you know, what do you feel about this? Or, you know, if I do this, what about you doing this? The laundry, whatever it is, just
Right.
be open and honest.
I agree. There's certain things that I'm one of those people that actually likes doing housework. So whenever this conversation comes up, I'm always kind of like, well, I love doing laundry. I love washing dishes. I love to clean. I love to organize. Definitely my husband, I would love for my husband to take out the garbage. I would love for him to pump my gas. Even if he don't have to pay for it, but I would like for him to pump it. I would like for him to do, you know, some of the yard work, you know, the more strenuous things. I would love to not have to worry about my car maintenance at all. I would love to, you know, just know that there are certain things that he is going to take care of. But as far as the housework, as long as it's something that I can do, I do have problems with pain and fatigue. If it's something that I need for him to lift for me or take down from a shelf for me or something like that, then yes, I will expect his help. But for me personally, I happen to enjoy housework. But I know some women, you know, are totally averse to any type of anything that would seem to put them in a certain kind of box. But the fact of the matter is the house needs to be cleaned. So it really don't matter who does it. The dishes need to be washed. The floors need to be swept and mopped and vacuumed. So, you know, it depends on the couple. It depends on their dynamic. It depends on their schedules. It all depends. But everybody needs to learn how to push a broom.
I agree with that. I think, as I keep saying, and this is what I really believe that teamwork does make the dream work. You're probably going to hear me say that a couple times because I really do believe that, because I don't mind helping clean up the house. I don't mind, you know, doing things around the house to help out. I don't think that any person in a relationship be struggling, should feel like they're all by themselves with the housework. I shouldn't be a filthy person leaving stuff laid all over the floor, clothes all over the floor, expecting you to wash the dishes, clean the dishes after I done made a mess in the kitchen. I think that it's important for us to work together in all aspects of the relationship. Now, like JB was saying, the yard work, definitely a man wants to take care of the yard work, wants to take care of that kind of stuff. There's just certain things that I think you agree upon when you go into a relationship, like, honey, you know what, I'm going to take care of that for you. You ain't got to worry about that. I'm better at this. I'll vacuum the floor. I do better with washing the dishes. And most of the time, you can put those dishes in the dishwasher anyway. Now, that's why I think it's so important to find out so much about a person, because we don't know who's nasty or not. That's important. Now, if a woman keeps a nasty house, now that, I mean, I can't get with that. Now, if you're a nasty woman, I walk in the house and can't hardly get through because there's trash all over the place and clothes is filthy and dirty food all over. Now, that's not going to work for me. That's just, I consider myself as a man to be a very neat person. I do. And so I don't think that would be an issue for my future wife. But like I said, I know everybody is different. And so let me ask you this, because I think it's important, too, when we talk about the finances. We're going to go back and forth with the housework to the finances. But I believe, and I want to know your ladies' mentality. Like I said, you don't have to necessarily, I know that, at this point, I think that we all may be single. I'm not, but you don't have to get into that. But I'm just saying, like, as far as when it comes to bank accounts, now this is how I always believe. Now, what works for one person doesn't work for somebody else. What works for somebody's family might not work for me. What works for you and your family may not work for me. For as far as what I'm saying is, I believe, and you can disagree with this, I want you guys to jump in because this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting here. Now, I believe that a family, husband and wife, should have 3 accounts. One, your own account, and account that takes care of all of the bills. So I have my personal account, you have your personal account, and we have a joint account where we pay all of the bills and all of the other expenses, rent, mortgage, and the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's just how I feel, because there was a question before, like if your family member or your mother needed some help financially, you wouldn't have to worry about coming out of the joint account.
Right.
Because you got it in your own account. Whatever you want to do with your account, do that. How do y'all feel about that? How do you feel about that mentality?
You can go ahead.
I agree. I actually think there should be a 4th one, one for savings, to be attached to the main account for the bills. The savings can be for emergencies. The savings can be for, if something happens to the house or something happens, like that, or for vacation, stuff like that. But I definitely, and this all goes into the whole thing of, do you really trust the person that you're married to? Right. Because as long as you trust that person's character and you trust their integrity, you should feel comfortable with them having an account that you don't necessarily have access to, but here's the thing. I'd rather know about an account I don't have access to than to not know about the account. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if I don't know about the account, I'm gonna have some questions. Like, is this for your whatever kind of fund, or is this, why are you hiding it from me? So as long as there's transparency, there should be no issue with a husband and a wife having. I know many married couples that have their account for their bills, and then they each have a separate checking account. It all comes down to, do you really trust who you're married to?
I totally agree with that. I don't see anything wrong with him having his account, her having her account, and then a joint account. And that's good as well, that savings account, that backup emergency fund as well. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And I think, like I was saying, whatever works for you and your mate, it's nobody else's business. Whatever worked for you guys, it's working, no problems. And so I do agree with the extra saving account is a good idea too. And so these are some of the things that I think will kind of, because a lot of people, and let's talk about before marriage stage, about this, do you feel like it's necessary? Or do you feel a lot of women, and I know you ladies, see, this is why this is such a different topic. Well, there's a different way you guys look at things, because you're women of God. Because I think that's important. When you have a woman of God, she seems to be more understanding, and but when it comes sometimes to what I was saying as far as getting your hair and your nails done, well, if you have a account full of money to get your hair and nails done, do I need to go buy and get your nails done if I want to treat you? And see, that's the thing. Let's say that I want to buy my woman a gift. Mm-hmm. Is it really a gift coming out of the joint account? I don't think so. For me, it's not really a gift. But if it's coming from my account, it's a gift.
Right.
That's how I feel. How am I giving you a gift from the joint account?
Right. It's both of your money.
Right.
But I don't see why people get caught up and so, upset. But like I said, you are a woman of God whose perspective, I believe, is very enlightening to me. My eyes have been opened. I mean, my goodness, there's nothing that I don't disagree with what you ladies are saying. Mm-hmm. And it's very rare. It's very rare. It really
wasn't what you thought it was going to be, was it?
No, it's
My
not.
money,
I
my
mean,
money. That's what
man,
you thought you was
look,
gonna get, didn't you? Oh no, this ain't what you're dealing with here.
exactly. I'm really tripping right now because there's no rebuttals or no, there ain't no controversy. What's happening here? This is rare. But look at check it out. And so the questions that I'm having, and I think let's talk about some spiritual things because I know that we're all saved, and I think it's important, and it's very important that a man and woman definitely has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I think, of course, I don't think a person really knows love until they've had an experience with God, until they have a relationship with God. I don't feel like a person, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with this. Is Tomell's opinion. You learn how to love with God's love, having a relationship with Christ and knowing what God's expectations of love is. 1 Corinthians 13th chapter. Once we know that, once we experience God's love, I think that we can love somebody else, if not with the same kind of love, but like the word of God says that we should, love our wives like Christ loves the church. And I think that's very important. And so I'm not even going to even ask this question. JB, I'm stunned, man. I don't have no rebuttals, but I'm just going to ask this question. Do you feel like with you guys being very sound, solid in ministry, do you feel like there's a certain level of man spiritually that you need? I know that you both, and I think I want to reveal to the audience that you guys are ministers. You ladies are ministers. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So do you feel like what you've been ministers, are you looking for a certain type of man? Does he have to be a minister too, or does he just have to have a relationship with Christ? And then I go to JB after you guys.
Well, with me, I'm all about purpose. What I found before is if a man doesn't know his purpose, then he's going to be intimidated by you because you know your purpose. You're fulfilling your calling, your destiny. You're going in that direction. So that's what I have found in the past. And I prefer a man knowing what his purpose, his calling, his destiny as well. So once we get together, we can fulfill our God-given purpose. Jesus is the center, the foundation. We can grow spiritually, mentally, physically, all of that in one.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful.
I totally agree. Moment of transparency here.
Yes.
I think that some errors that I have made in the past when it comes to allowing a certain type of man to approach me is that I have the tendency, because I'm spiritually minded and ministry minded, I tend to see a man beyond what he realistically is. And I begin to marry myself in my mind to who I see him as, the potential that I see in him, and the way that God sees him. It's one thing, as men and women of God, we are taught to see the person in the spiritual realm. But sometimes that can be dangerous because we can be so deep into who we see them as in the spirit that we forget to jump back over into the natural and realize the reality of who the person is. So we have to be very careful, because I was talking to one of my brothers about a situation that happened recently, and hey James, if you end up seeing this, the Reverend, he basically said, "You fell in love with your assignment," and I was like, you know what? Say it a little bit louder for the people in the back. It was very true. And what I learned from that is that I tend to, my natural side suffers because my spiritual side takes over into areas that it's not authorized to go in. And it's so true. I want a man to already know what his purpose is. This is going to sound a little rough. I don't have time to counsel you and help you figure out what you're supposed to be doing. If you are approaching me, if you have seen me in action and you see who I am as a woman of God, and you know that I'm the type of woman that you want, this is where you have to talk to the Lord and say, God, I want this woman, but I need you to show me what I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't want to mess her up. I don't want to get her off track by me trying to figure myself out. And same goes with women. This goes, both ways. Right. But I really have learned a lot this year about the intricacies of purpose. It's not just what you can see in the spirit realm. You got to see that thing in the natural, and you have to deal with it in the natural, because you can be looking at a person in their spiritual sense, but still be having to fight their demons with them. Look, if we're together, we are standing back to back fighting the enemy. I don't have time to fight you too. I cannot fight with you and your demons and fight the enemy as well. So it all goes into, what is your purpose? Who are you really? We know your name. We know what's on your birth certificate, but what's in your spirit? What has God written in your spirit? What does your spiritual birth certificate say? Because that determines who you should be with. It's all about purpose. Yeah, compatibility. Yeah, chemistry. Yeah, all that googly-eyed stuff. But when it comes down to it, purpose is where it's at.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. And I know sometimes that's what's going to have to take place, because sometimes it's going to be needed, spiritual warfare. So there's sometimes, relationships go through some things sometimes, because if the enemy can't get to you, he will attack a family member or attack another situation because he can't get to you. And it doesn't, if you ain't got peace at the house, if you got to come home to some arguing and disagreement, and your mate can't pray with you to war against the enemy, that's the problem. Yeah. Because everything is not going to be, always cherry on top of the ice cream, peaches and cream. It's not going to always be where, we're loving, we're happy. There's going to be some times where things are going to get rough and tough. And I think it's important as a man to have a woman that can pray for me, because I'm going to need that prayer. And we're going to have to strengthen each other through prayer, because life is tough. Life is rough sometimes. And you're going to need somebody to hold it down with you spiritually, to know the word of God, so they can speak the word to the enemy, and we can rebuke the enemy, rebuke the devourer together. And so it's so important. It's so needed. We have to be on one accord spiritually. That's so important. Go ahead and jump in there, JB.
I had to come outside. The mosquitoes was eating me alive. Hey, I love nature, but nature don't send a little meat back.
It's that red skin.
Listen, I'm telling you, that's what it is. Listen, I tell people anytime, man, you get into a relationship, the greatest question you can ask somebody is why. Why is it that you see things a certain way? Why is it that you want this? You know what I mean? And you get down to the root of where it is, because here's the thing. Everybody is raised a certain way, and I like to call it programming. And what happens is you got to figure out exactly why that program is it that way. Because you get some people say, well, I want to get a 5-bedroom house, but it's only just me and you, baby. Why you want to get a 5-bedroom house? Right. Well, my sister's got a house. And, hold on, wait a minute. You want to get a 5-bedroom house because your sister's got one. We don't even have kids yet. How many kids you want to have? We ain't even talked about that yet. I know, but everybody in my house, they had, in my family, they had big houses. Oh, okay, that's nice. But why do you want a big house? Right. You want a big house because somebody else? Well, somebody else ain't going to help you pay for that. What's going to happen is you're going to put a burden on me, and you're going to put a burden on you, because I'm going to require you certain things of you while I go out and get what you asked for. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to need somebody who has a spirit of agreement. And the minute that I get to a point where I'm not feeling the agreement, then guess what? We're going to have a problem, because you told me to go get it. I went and go got it. And now we got a problem. You're not upholding your end of the bargain. So I need to know, what is your why? Why do you want to have kids? Why do you want to have this house? Why do you want to have this car? Is it something that's messing with your self-esteem? Where did that come from? I want to know why, because I can get down and I can help you fix whatever it is that you need to have fixed. We can get the counseling. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be there right in your corner. I'm gonna let you know you don't have to have all this stuff to feel a certain way or to be somebody. I think about it. When you pass on, this stuff gonna be gone. But my thing is this: what you gonna do while you're here? Who you gonna bless while you're here? You know what I mean? Who you gonna grow while you're here? And I tell people from time to time, I use this example all the time. Teaching and coaching, and I ebb and flow between the both. There's a difference. Teaching pours into somebody. As a husband, you're going to pour into your wife. And then sometimes you're going to have to be the coach. And coaching pulls things out of people. You see what I'm saying? And what happens is, it's like God, he coaches us sometimes to bring out the best in us. And I need to know how far I need to go to pull out so I don't break you. And then and the same vice versa. When you coach me, you teach me, I need to know, you need to know how far you can push me so I don't get broke. So we know each other's boundaries and know when not to cross. And what happens is a lot of times people don't have these very uncomfortable conversations because they're afraid to lose the person that they claim they love. And I tell people all the time, you have to have those uncomfortable conversations because that is the basis in what your relationship is going to be based on. That's what's going to give your relationship purpose. If my thing is this, if you have an issue or something, let me know what the issue is. You know what I mean? You may think you're not good enough. I think you're the bee's knees. You know what I mean? You might have low self-esteem and say, baby, I can't tell you. You know what I mean? You the best of me. I don't care what nobody say. And if they got a problem with it, tell them to come see about me. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And those are the things you have to do. You have to build each other up. You know what I mean? And constantly grow each other up so you don't find yourself, you know, in financial binds trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Right.
Absolutely, man. I think the ladies agree with you. You got an amen from the ladies. And you know, so I feel you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Good stuff that you said there. And so there's a question up here for Seth, and I think anybody can really jump in at this question. I left it up there on purpose. And I know you see the question. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Lurtel, but he says, how does one know when and if they're spiritually aligned?
You really have to look at, because see, you can be teaching something and still learning it at the same time. And I believe when it comes to issues of how do you know that you're in the right vein, one of the biggest lessons that God has taught me, one of the biggest focuses that I've had this year is learning the difference between God's permissive will and his perfect will. I, over the past 5 years, have experienced a lot of God's permissive will. I've experienced a lot of his grace, but I want to see more of his perfect will and his favor. I want to live a life that does not require God to come behind me with a broom and dustpan. I want to live a life where I'm walking forward more than I'm looking back. And when you are in the vein that God wants you to be in, you find yourself thinking more about the future and less about the past. You find yourself going through less of the same cycles, less of the same tests over and over again. Not to say you're not going to have any problems, but they won't be the same problems over and over again. New level, new devil. So once you go higher in some things, you're going to see different levels of opposition, of course. But if you're going through the same test and you're experiencing the same type of issues and you're encountering the same type of people, that's how you know that you're spiritually stuck. You're on a spiritual hamster wheel. And once you start to see changes in how you react to things, changes in how you do things, changes in how you perceive things, that's when you know that you're becoming more aligned with where God wants you to be. And I'm literally experiencing that right now. So everything that I'm saying is not like, oh, you know, that was how I was 5-10 years. No, this is where I am right now. Because every time, I'm telling you, I was just telling my grandmother this earlier. Every time I let go of something or someone that is not for me, purpose starts to become more vivid in my life. Things start to just happen. I wake up and things are already happening. And all I have to do is just go with wherever God is leading me. So it's a loaded question, but it was a fantastic question. I'm glad that you left it up because this is a thing that you can teach others while you're still learning it. And all I can say is it's God's perfect will versus his permissive will. And when you start to shift more to the perfect will, that's how you know you're more in alignment with what God wants for your life.
And then that again, beautifully said. Beautifully said. That's when it comes down to personal relationship with Jesus Christ. As far as the closer you get to the Lord Jesus, He'll definitely show you your purpose. He'll show you your growth. He'll show you the areas where you need to work on. And once you know your purpose, I see that's when men become powerful. That's when men and women become powerful. Once you know your purpose and your assignment, then it's so important, because life brings forth a lot more meaning. Instead of just existing, you start living. And whatever God has called you to do, that's what your life becomes about. That's what your life is centered around. And that's why it's so important for an individual, your mate, to support your vision, because your vision becomes your mate's vision. Even if you have individual ministries, you got to know that, hey, I can handle being with a pastor. I can handle being with a minister. She has a dance ministry. Can I handle that? He has a singing ministry. He's going to be traveling all over the world. She has a dance ministry. She's going to be traveling. She's not going to be at church every Sunday because she's going to be invited some different places. Right. Are you going to be able to handle that? Are you going to be able to deal with that? Are you going to be insecure in yourself to say, you know what? My wife or my mate has a ministry too. But let me say this too. And Bishop Noel Jones said this as well, that he lost his wife because he was married to the ministry. He spent so much time traveling. He spent so much time at church, loving, helping, caring for the people, but his wife was lonely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want to have as far as a relationship. You got to spend time with your wife. You got to take some time to spend time with your husband, your wife. It's so important. Make love to your wife. I'm talking about your wife. I'm talking about the wife now. Make love to your wife. I don't want no fight back on that. We talk about wife and husband. Make love to your wife, spend time with her, go on trips, keep things spicy. And I think that the problem is that men and women stop dating each other. Men stop taking women on dates. What you did in the beginning of the relationship is so important to continue, because that's how you got her. That's how you want her. You got to continually do those things that made her happy. Because, like I always say, I make this joke all the time, is that, in the beginning of the relationship, everybody is great. We are the baddest. We are the sweetest. Oh, man, we're making our woman smile. We're doing everything we can. We're saying the right things. But 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, what happened?
Yeah.
So it's got to be a consistent thing. Go ahead and jump in there. Anybody on that? Any thoughts? You'll go ahead and jump in there.
I have to just piggyback on something both of you said, because it just reminded me, today is my parents' 40th year anniversary.
Aww.
And they still, what amazes me and what I love about it is, they still make each other laugh. And I just so love it. They still down for one another. They still supportive of one another. They still communicate. They communicate. It seems to be stronger now than when I was not that there was a huge difference, but it's just like that foundation is so solid. And I just love the fact that they, do that for one another. They really seeking how to, they're happy. They're already happy, themselves, but seeking how to please the other one. Okay, well, it's not all about you, it's like, how can I be of service to you? How can I serve you? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, I just found that so amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Happy anniversary to your parents. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to jump in there on that point?
It's important. Keep that same energy.
Yes.
Don't do anything in the beginning that you cannot maintain. It's just like when you get I just recently became a plant mom. Okay, I have 3 plants now. I'm very proud. What I did in the beginning, when I first got them, I was so excited and just talking to them every morning and watering them and treating them. But if I stop doing that, if I stop watering them, if I stop talking to them, if I stop acting like they're not living things, they're going to die. And a relationship is a living, breathing thing. It's a representation of 2 people coming together and saying, I'm going to, bring my life into yours, and we're going to create a new life out of our two lives. So anything that is alive, if you don't feed it, if you don't nurture it, it's going to die.
That's true.
It's the same thing with relationships. So keep that same energy. Whatever you do in the beginning, keep doing it, for men and for women.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that. I like the way you use that example of, the plant. You got to definitely feed it and nurture it. So that's a beautiful example. Um, so let me ask you this question, and I think, like I said, I'm dealing with some woman of God here. So I think that the questions that I have, I'm getting some very positive, some wonderful answers. JB, how you feeling, man? I mean, these ladies, man, are dropping bombs, dropping jewels. I can't disagree with nothing that they're saying.
You're right. You're
Beautiful
absolutely
things are
right.
being said.
Oh yeah. Now here's another aspect that I like to point out too. A lot of times people lose themselves in a relationship. And a lot of times you may have a separate interest that may interest you. Sometimes it's good to get out of yourself and just say, hey, look, what is it that this person needs? You know what I mean? And you help that person do what they need to do and become their best selves. And then what happens is, in turn, when it's your turn for you to do what you need to do and become your best selves, then you're both elevating. You're elevating each other. So you don't want to get out of the habit of letting that person know, hey, I appreciate you from time to time. So you have to do that. You have to say that. You have to show it from time to time. You may not be able to go all out like you used to, because by the time you get through adding kids in, mortgages, all these different jobs, promotions, you start spreading each other thin, and then you forget you in a whole, marriage, and forgot about the other person. And a lot of times people forget that the other person exists, and they get into this me, and they forget that the other person exists, and they forget to do maintenance. So I think what happens is, if you focus on that person, if you get somebody that focuses on you, then nobody misses out. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a problem that I think a lot of men and women are having in some of these relationships. Selfish. You're so selfish. It can't always be all about you and what you want. It can't be all about what you want to do all the time. Sometimes, you got to give and take. You know what? We're going to do this today, honey, because, you want to do it. But then sometimes you got to say, you know what? Okay, Tomell. All right, we're going to do what you want to do today. So you make a great point, JB. I mean, it's definitely important to want to definitely meet each other's needs. And there was a question posed by Markeisha, and I want to ask you this. Now, let's say pre-marriage. Well, let me say this. You're in a committed relationship. So let me ask you this question. How do you feel about giving your phone password to your mate? Is it necessary? Should you do it? How do you feel about phone passwords? Should you have access to each other's phones?
I'll put it to like this. I'll put it to like this. If you're being honest and you put your best foot forward and your best effort, and you having a how should I say this? You putting a good faith effort in, I don't see a problem with that, to be honest. I really don't. And here's the thing, they should have access to it, because you never know, something might happen to you, and they might need to reach out to somebody that knows you or something like that.
That's true.
But my thing is this: if everybody on the same playing field, everything on the up and up, I don't see no problem with that.
Yeah.
You can't have my password.
I mean, I don't, the whole phone password thing, I keep a password on my phone to protect my apps that have like my sensitive information.
Of course.
I'm a writer, so, the writing, the music, all that stuff, to protect those things. But even when I was in a marriage and suspected that my ex-husband was up to something, I still really never had a desire to find out what was going on in his phone. I feel like yes, I do agree with JB that for safety measures, yes, that there should be some sort of way to be able to have access to it, but it's a slippery slope. Because I do believe that there should be some form of privacy within a marriage. There is a possibility to have those private thoughts that you can put down and not have to worry about someone coming in and seeing them. So it's, for me personally, I never really cared. If my husband wanted my password, or my someone I'm seriously dating wanted to know my password, okay, I guess, I mean, okay, I would give it to him, but I really didn't. I wouldn't feel then that, oh well, since you had mine, I got to have your. So I don't know. I don't know whether I'm just weird, whether it doesn't bother me. I don't know. But for me, I don't care. If he asks for it, he can have it. But I don't know.
No, I mean, I respect that. I respect a woman's privacy. Now, I think that comes down to trust. Do you really trust your mate? Do you think she has something in her phone that she's hiding? Or if you're asking to go into people's phones, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Nobody does. If I'm asking to go into your phone, then I have some suspicions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I totally trust you if I need to go through your phone and want to go through your phone.
You know what I think that is, Tomell? I think a lot of times people, they ask questions in a roundabout way. Instead of asking, hey, are you cheating? Let me see your phone. That's, to me, that's passive aggressive. I'm more of a direct type of person. If she asks me, hey, can I see your phone? Oh, sure, here you go. What you want to know? Just give it to him while you're saying it at the same time. Do you not trust me? Did we not do enough legwork in our relationship for you not to trust me? I don't have a problem with it. Here you go. But my thing is, I'm be looking at you sideways like, you don't really trust me. We got some other things to talk about. So let's get to talking. Let's sit down and talk about everything. Anything you want to know, I'm going to give it to you, because I'm a big person. I'm a real big person on transparency. And I don't believe in hiding nothing. If I'm in the beginning of a relationship, if I'm talking to somebody else, I'm going to tell you, because you need to know this. You see what I'm saying? And if we get to the point where it's just me and you, then I'm like, hey, look, it's going to be me and you. I'm cutting off all these other people. I really, really like you. I want to do this with you. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But when it gets to the point where we're in a marriage or whatever, here's the thing. If you got certain thoughts that you want to have, you get you some Evernote, put your fingerprint scan on it, lock all that stuff away. But phone, text, all that other stuff, I mean, here's my thing. God will deal with you when I can't see you. And I have confidence in him handling business. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have to check up behind you. Because I know for a fact God going to take care of what he got to do. That's why I can sleep good at night, knowing he going to handle business. And a lot of times, a lot of Christians, man, they'll sit up here and they'll say, like you talked about earlier, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, this, that, other. When it comes time to test your faith, what are you going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do? How are you going to behave? Because when I'm in a relationship, if I'm testing your spiritual maturity, when we go through things, I need to know you're not going to fold. And you need to know I'm not going to fold. I'm telling you, I've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm here to tell you, it take a lot to shake me up. But I guarantee if something bad happens to me, I know God had a reason for it. And I'm mature enough to say, you know what, God, I don't know what the purpose is, but in the past, every time you worked it out for me, it worked out. So I trust you. Let's do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And you got to have somebody that matches that same intensity. And if you get to the point where you got to check my phone or whatever, then we really ain't did the legwork. And I don't think we need to move forward until we get past that point. Just my opinion.
No, yeah, that's true.
No, another good point about that. And so I know if you look into the comments, which you're probably seeing, some people feel like, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and give my partner the phone, and that's cool, and I have no problem with it. And there's some that's saying, you don't need to have it. You don't need to have that information if you trust me. So, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. But I think I agree with you, JB, as far as that whatever is done in the dark, eventually it's going to come to light. So if somebody's cheating, if somebody's doing something wrong, and you have a relationship with the Lord and you pray about it, I mean, I think God will handle things. He will take care of things. You may be getting cheated on, you may be deceived for a while, but after a while, it's going to soon come out. It will. I really believe that. And the ladies say they feel it. Is that woman's intuition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the woman's intuition. It's discernment. And another thing too, not only will God deal with the person, but he'll reveal things in such a way that he'll reveal it in such a way that you almost have a delayed reaction in being mad, because you're just so glad that you know the truth. So God is so good. He's so good. And if we are men and women of God and we truly trust that God hears, sees, and knows everything, then there's no reason to press the issue, because God will always reveal what it really is. And we often don't trust our intuition enough. We don't trust our discernment enough. But it's funny, the same discernment that we ignore in the beginning is always the discernment that's confirmed in the end. So if we learn to, when it first pops off and we react to that, it saves a lot of trouble on the back end. So it really comes down to, not only do I trust this person, but do I trust myself? When I feel something, when the Lord is showing me something, am I paying attention to it? Because a lot of times we have ignored our discernment so much that it almost feels like we're crazy when we know we're right. So you have to learn how to trust. You can't trust anybody until you learn how to trust yourself. You got to learn how to trust God, learn how to trust yourself, and then you can learn how to trust other people.
Absolutely. I have something to add on to that. You brought up a good point, because years ago, I was in a relationship and it dropped so heavy in my spirit, break up with him. And it was just like boom, boom, boom of what was going on or what was going to happen. I was like, wow, he's a good guy. You know, he would never cheat on me. No way. 6 months later, the same thing that dropped in my spirit, from detail to detail to detail to detail, happened. And I was like, oh, the Holy Spirit. I should have just listened. So from that point moving forward, when something is shown to me in advance, dropped in my spirit, I hear you, God. Cut off. Block.
Yes.
Well, you know why that happens. The reason why that happens is because our ego. And what happens is we want something, we want a thing so bad, we will ignore all the red flags just so we can get what we want to get. But we have to get to the point, we have to be mature and say, God, I want your will. And if you get to that point where you say, God, I want your will, it'll help you. I put it to you, and like back in the day, we used to play video games. We used to play Contra, up, down, BA, select, star, the cheat code. I'm going to tell you something. The Holy Spirit is the cheat code to keep you out of all kind of foolishness. You know what I'm saying? That is the cheat code. You know what I mean? It'll give you infinite lives. It'll bring you back, give you a better weapon. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you hadn't got to that point, I encourage you to get to that point, because it's a whole lot easier that way. A whole lot easier that way. Because a lot of times you can pretty much tell when somebody cheating on you, because their language changes, because they start to take more risk with the things that they say. And 9 times out of 10, they say things that's not really in their vocabulary. 9 times out of 10, they're talking to somebody else. They picking it up from somewhere. People are sponges. That's the reason how we learn. That's how kids learn from an early age, different languages, that type of thing. And when people subconsciously, they don't understand what they're doing, they'll pick up different words that they say to somebody else. So they become real loose with their tongue. So those are some of the things you look for. And the Holy Spirit will whisper to you, you be like, you know, she don't talk like that. You know what I'm saying? She ain't never said that before. Or he ain't never said that before. Why he bring me flowers and it ain't even our anniversary? I mean, what's really going on? And then you come find out it was something else later on. You be like, I knew it. After a while, you don't even be shocked no more. You be like, listen, let's sit down and talk. Another thing too, here's another thing. When you catch them, you got to set the table for the next situation. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Your reaction to how you respond to what they do is going to set the table for how they're going to come clean later on. Because if you explode and say, why did you do this, that, and the other, they're not going to tell you in the future. And you're going to be setting yourself up. So what you want to do is you want to be calm in yourself and be like, just go ahead and tell me what happened. Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this. What were you thinking, when that happened? Just talk to me. You know what I mean? And what happens is the truth will come out. And then it's easier for you to deal with the truth versus somebody keep trying to hide lie after lie after lie. And after a while, that erodes trust. And if you don't have trust in a relationship, you basically don't have nothing. So your reaction to adversity says a lot about you and how they're going to trust you in the future with other adversities.
Right.
Man, JB makes some excellent points, man. I totally agree with you. And that, I think it comes down to this also. and I think we talked about this in times past, is conflict resolution skills. Man, if there's a conflict or if there's a problem, you got to have somebody that is willing to, work some things out. Because every situation is, like you said, the approach is not always an argument. And so I know that we're dealing with women of God, but in times past, when there was a disagreement in past relationships, if there was a problem, the insults, the calling of the names and stuff because you disagree with them about something, or you feel differently about a certain subject, and the insults and calling out your name, and peace is priceless. And I think it's so important to have peace in your relationship. And those type of ladies and those type of men too, that are like that, I think it's important that you avoid those type of men and women who don't have good conflict resolution skills. It's so important to get with somebody that has conflict resolution skills, and they're good conflict resolution skills, because I don't want to be arguing every day over just small things, over little things. That's why, as you guys talk about communication and how you approach it, and if you're getting upset and you're getting angry about something when somebody tells you the truth or comes clean, it's probably a good chance, as JB was saying, that she may not come back to you about something that's very private or something that's very dear to her because of how you reacted the first time. And so once all that starts, I think it's time to let the relationship, or just we got to second think some things. If there's one place that I want to have peace, that's my home. If I ain't got peace in the home, we deal with so much outside in the world. We deal with so many different issues going on with the job and stuff that's going on with the family members, and just the way of the world, COVID-19 and all this stuff going on. And you can't get along with me at the house, that's a problem.
Right.
I mean, that's why we talk about having a great friendship. It's so important to develop a great friendship. And I think Devin was saying it's good for you to have a mate that has a great sense of humor, that can laugh sometimes. Because think about it, if we're going to be at the house all the time, we together all the time. It's just me and you.
Right.
So we're going to have to get along.
This is true.
It's a horrible thing to not be able to get along, and you at the house 24 hours a day and you arguing. You can't even stay together. You're arguing, you're fighting. You can't get along. You're not friends. And that's where it comes down to, where I think a lot of people have gotten together for very poor reasons, such as I was attracted to that person. I mean, don't get me wrong. Physical attraction is extremely important. I think it's very important. You need to be attracted to your mate. But I think developing a close friendship, having some things in common, you don't have to have everything in common, because sometimes the differences bring you together. I don't think everybody should be the same. We don't have to feel the same about certain things, but at least we can get along and have fun together. No matter what we're doing, if we can just sit down at the house and enjoy each other watching a movie, that's cool. But some people can't do that. Some couples can't do that. You can't live in the bedroom all day long.
So can't.
You got to come out of that bedroom sometimes.
I know. Some of them tried, man. They think there's all this to it. So if I could just make it to the bedroom, everything will be all right. And then when you're done, it's like, what's next? What's for dinner? And then that whole cycle continues when you go into the bedroom and what's for dinner. You know what I mean? That get old after a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and I won't, JB, I won't say that the sex gets old. I can't say it's not gonna never get old to me.
I ain't saying nothing about that. I'm talking about the dinner. The same thing over and over again.
Hey, I feel you, JB. I'm just a different. We're gonna have as much as we want to as a couple. Believe me. But I'm just saying that I feel you. I understand what you're saying. I'm just making a joke a little bit. But I'm just saying, it's important. You got to live outside the bedroom, though.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people use it as a crutch.
Getting married for the wrong reasons. You're getting married for the wrong reasons, getting in relationships for the wrong reasons. And like you said, it's got to be more to that, to a physical attraction. I think friendship is important. And of course, number one, having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It's number one, I think, for everybody on this panel.
Yes. Yes, has to be.
Wanted to go. Yes. I didn't mean to cut you off. Say that again, Devin.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing. I said, yes, it has to be.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. There's a question up there for you two ladies. I kept it up on purpose. You guys can answer that question if you like to. As for the ladies.
Yes. Yeah. You want to go first? You go first.
Let me gather my two scenarios. I'll let you go
I
first.
want to hear this.
Woo. Okay. So okay. To start, we're not supposed to be interested in secular men. So we're not even supposed to be seeing them like that in that way. Because the only men that we should have eyes for are men that have eyes for Jesus. So that's where the standard becomes the difference. When I was less stringent about my standards when it came to whether or not a man was saved or whether or not he was serving God, it's not that the standards were different, it's that they leaned more towards the natural side of things versus the spiritual things. I've always wanted a man that was honest. I've always wanted a man that would treat me well. I've always wanted a man that loved children. I always wanted a man that, was creative and wanted to have adventures and wanted to, travel and all those things. But when I began to see more of who God created me to be in my purpose, of course, my standards changed because my standards had to rise to the level of my purpose. My purpose was always up here because that's where God put it at. So over the years, my standards had to go up to meet what my purpose is. So once I finally knew and accepted who God created me to be, I had no choice but to change, because it's like certain cars require 93. If you don't put 93 in there, you're going to have some problems. Okay. I don't care how broke you are. I don't care how much you want to put that 87 in there. You try putting 87 in like a Ferrari or something, or some other car that requires 93 octane. You're gonna mess up the engine. So my purpose was always that high quality car, but I was always trying to put 87 in there. And I was always having to go to the mechanic, i.e. God, for the repairs, because I was putting the wrong gas in there. So I kept having to go to God and have my heart repaired, because I kept putting my heart in the hands of a man that didn't know how to handle it. A man should have to go to God to get my heart, because I gave my heart to God. God has the code, he has the key, he has the security popping. He should be so enthralled and involved in what God wants him to do, that's where he's going to find my heart. So that's really the only difference in the standard between a Christian man and a secular man. But as far as I'm concerned at this point in my life, I don't even have eyes for a man that doesn't have eyes for the Lord. I can see him and be like, that's a fine man, but he don't love Jesus, so he got to go. I'm mature enough in my ways that I can see, something that my eyes may want, but I know it's not good for my soul. What I want in a husband is someone that is good for my soul, and someone that complements my purpose.
Yes. So I'm not going to tell my story, but what I will say is now at this point, I have to have a man of God. I can't have anything less. I have to have a man that's truly actually after God's own heart, has personal relationship with him, prayer time, worship and fellowshipping with him, not just only a hearer of the word, but an actually doer of the word. Now, back then when I was a baby Christian, to answer that gentleman's question, I'm not even gonna front. I'm gonna be totally honest. I love bad boys. I liked them because they were fun. They were spicy. I didn't know who I was as a baby Christian. I was just getting to know who Devin was. I was like, okay, some of the things it was intentional sin, but my thought process back then is, oh, he's a forgiving God, which he is. Oh, he's always, his grace and mercy endures forever, which it does. But how many times I came to a point, it was like, Devin, how many times are you going to intentionally sin, like premeditated sin? And then what if God stops, stretches his hand? He's like, really, depart from me. Go that way. I don't know who you are, because you're doing this on purpose. So it was just like a check to me. So So back then, I thought Christian men, they weren't my type. They were not my thing. You know, even though, like I said, I was a baby Christian, I was in the ministry. That's not what I wanted back then. But now, since I've matured, my mind is renewed. I know what I desire, and I know my worth and my value, and nothing less, because I'm a diamond. Yes. Then I have to have a diamond right next to me. First place. We both first place winners. I have to, nothing less. Right. So yeah. So I'm not gonna tell the story, but yeah.
That's good. No, that's good. That's real. I mean, that's a real example of, your experience. And so I can feel it. I feel you. I definitely understand exactly where you're coming from. And so you don't want to lower your standards for anybody. And I appreciate that. I respect that. About the standards. I think women of God, men of God, we have standards, I think, that are a little different. I would say I'll say maybe a lot different than some of the women, some of the men of the world. And so that's understand where our mentality has changed, or we've been renewed, by Jesus in our minds and our hearts. And so we have a different way we view things. Our mentality has changed, and for the better, actually. And so those things that maybe that we had a problem with, or things that we used to desire, we don't desire no more, because, like I said, a little bit of, I don't mind a little bit of hood in there. I don't mind a little the baby piece of ratchetness, because, I don't want my woman, I don't want a pushover as a woman. Right. I don't want that. I don't want no woman that doesn't have a backbone. But just a little bit of the hood, just a little bit of ratchet, it kind of turns me on a little bit. Just a tad, just a little, wildness, just a tad bit. That's just me. But everybody's different. Everybody's different.
I need just a little bit of Peter, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little
bit. Listen to me, I'm gonna keep it 100. And I know that they answered the question, but I'm gonna keep it 100. A lot of times the real reason why they look at secular men, because the secular men seem to keep themselves together a little bit more than the man of God. Now, I'll give you kudos. I saw you in the gym today working that thing out. You know what I mean? How come the women of God can't have a man that's buff and love the Lord at the same time? You see what I'm saying?
Sir.
We got to, as men of God, we got to do a better job. We got to give them something better to look at. You know what I'm saying? And the Bible say the women, it said God gives you the desires of their heart. He ain't want to give you what's left over. I'm just gonna tell you, we got to do a better job. And sometimes women of God, they got to do a better job too. Because sometimes the guys will be like, hey, you know what? She sure look fine over there, but she don't like the Lord, but she look good though. I might take a chance. And that's when you mess up. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, that's the conversation that people have in their head, but they don't never say it out loud. But I think we probably need to be honest with ourselves a little bit more and start taking care of better ourselves as Christians, because we're supposed to be the example, man. We out here looking like bombs. We should be better than that. That's why I take my hat off to you for going in there doing them arm curls. I saw you in there. You know what I mean? Getting it done. That's what I'm talking about. I need to get down to the Planet Fitness myself. You know what I'm saying? So that way I can put on the whole armor of God. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing. The body and the mind and the soul. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think people will fall in love with you a little bit more if you put the whole thing on. You know what I mean? How you gonna go in the war and you ain't really in war shape? You know what I'm saying? How long you gonna last in the battle if you ain't in war shape? You know what I'm saying? So that's just one of the things I think we need to start being a little bit more honest with each other, because that's one thing that we don't say out loud. We think it, but we don't say it out loud. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably the root of what the man was asking. Hey, how come y'all choose the fly guys versus us? Because you still got that old 1985 three-piece church suit on. You know what I mean? Update your look. Update your look, player. Update your look. You know what I mean?
Listen, that's my friend now. You can't be coming from my friend. My friend clean. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Ain't nothing wrong with a three-piece suit now. I've seen him in casual wear.
They got some 2020 cuts out here to make you look good. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, that's that, man. I feel that, man. I appreciate that too. I'm trying to be the full package, because I know a lot of women desire certain men and certain men desire certain women, but do you feel you got to match now? You got to match what you desire. That's what I feel. Right. So I always, I want to feel like, I'm always trying to get better. That's just how I am, though. I want to be better at everything. I just want to improve everything. I want to be the best everything. So I want to have the best body I can have. I want my wife to have something to lust after. So when I take my shirt off, woo,
Right.
she's excited. She's aroused.
Mm-hmm.
She want to say
what I'm
yes,
talking
God.
about. Yeah, that's what you want, and that's the same thing with the woman. We want to be able to say that about a woman. Oh, she's
That's right.
fine. Woo, she
I
looking
want to
good.
get in trouble
Yeah,
walking around my house.
Exactly.
What you said?
Whoa, man.
Yes, but what you
That
doing
what
walking
Adam
around with them
said?
shorts
Whoa,
on?
man.
What you doing walking around with them shorts on?
Right.
You need to wash some dishes or
Ain't
something.
nothing at all. Yes,
Yeah.
I do my cardio and I do my little salsa dancing and my yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Gotta keep
Come
it
There's a
on,
lot
light.
of things to do in a
those.
relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm saying it's plenty of things to do in a relationship. We just got to get to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
true.
true, so true. Yes, go ahead and dance and go ahead and jiggle a little bit. I like to see all that. Yes,
Dance
yes,
like
go ahead.
David danced.
I like that. But you know one of the most sexiest things to me, and it ain't got nothing to do with anything physically, is I get turned on when I see a woman cooking a delicious meal in the kitchen and she's looking so good. She has on those. I'll stop there.
Watch it,
But when
Elder.
I'll stop there. That's all
Making
I'm
that
saying.
meal with love.
Hey,
Tender.
get excited about that. It's just sexy to me. It's just sexy to me.
We're on the
we all
Word
have
Network,
things.
not HBO.
All right, I guess I'm gonna kill that. I'm gonna kill that. But yeah, you
We know
guys
what
make
you
some
mean, though.
great points. Yeah, you guys make some great points about everything. And so we talked about purpose. We talked about standards. We talked about having a relationship with the Lord Jesus. And also we talked about peace being very important, peace being priceless. We also talked about how important it is to have a sense of humor, to have a close relationship with, your mate, to be best friends. I think your woman, your man, your wife, your husband has to be your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. And I'm going to say this about, I see the comments, but I'm going to say this. I think it's important, as I always say, and I'll leave my 3 S's, and then I'm going to let you guys close out and finish your final thoughts. But as I always state, those 3 S's is so important. You definitely have to be spiritually compatible with your mate. You both have to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I believe that's number 1. That's important. Then 2, you have to be socially compatible with your mate. You definitely have to have a friendship, got to have things in common, have to have fun together. If you can't have fun and enjoy your mate, you might as well not be in a relationship. That's how I feel. And the third thing, of course, is you have to be sexually compatible. And I always say this, have those conversations. We don't know a person's sexual past. Have those conversations, because everybody's not a virgin. And so I think it's important to have those conversations. What you like, what you don't like. You got to be sexually compatible, or it won't work. You'll be setting yourself up for failure. You get married and be in for a rude awakening on the wedding night. You'll be disappointed. So you got to have those conversations. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you guys. Any last thoughts? I guess I'm going to start with JB. It's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation concerning gender roles. And I just wanted to give you guys a chance to say your final thoughts, anything that you'd like to add, anything that you'd like to say. Definitely go ahead and do the not. Just going to start with JB.
Definitely. I want to first of all thank you for allowing me to come on the show and to talk to everybody. I really do appreciate that. One of the things I want to leave people with is something that I live by. It's learn, do, and teach. Learn your mate, do as much as you can for your mate, and teach your mate how to love you. And I guarantee you'll have a good, successful relationship.
Amen.
Yes, that's good.
I agree with that, JB.
Totally.
Most definitely, man. You're on point with that. Just go ahead, Devin.
And again, I want to thank you as well. It's an honor and a privilege. I had a very enjoyable time. I just want to let the people know, don't just be solely focused on finding a mate. Take your time, the right one's going to arrive, and just don't jump on the first one. Well, not jump, but, just take the first one. Just don't settle. Don't settle. Don't settle. Always follow your spirit. You know, don't ignore your spirit. We all have a spirit of discernment. Just follow through with it, even if it doesn't make sense at the time. It's the reason why. It's the reason why.
I agree with that. So important, discernment. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes,
I
Jeff.
also thank you, Tomell, for allowing me to be a part of this discussion. You know, I always enjoy these, and you know, I keep saying this to you. This is a ministry. This is a ministry that God has entrusted you with. And I am so proud of you and so grateful to be a part of what God is doing with Fruit Bearer Ministries and with SS&K. It's just amazing to see God move. And this discussion was very enlightening. It was fun. It was interesting. I just had such a good time speaking with you all. And one thing that I want to leave with everyone is that even when you feel like you know, still learn, still do research, still want to know more. Because I take these opportunities as not just I'm just coming on here to talk, but I'm really listening to what everybody else is saying and picking up nuggets from everyone. So thank you all for being transparent and for being willing to share different things that you've been through, because we don't know who we're helping. We don't know who we're influencing by saying the things that we're saying. So I had an amazing time. And yeah, discernment is a huge thing. Pay attention. When God is telling you something, pay attention. It's for your good.
Absolutely. Great words to end by. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the discussion. I appreciate you guys. Everything you guys said, I enjoyed it. I've learned some things as well from you ladies. And you know what? I'm so pleasantly surprised. I didn't have but maybe one disagreement, and it wasn't even a disagreement. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I mean, this is amazing to me. And it was a beautiful discussion without no disagreement.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You ladies are awesome. And you know, JB, you know, you're the man. You know, JB holds it down. JB always has some great things to say. So that's my homie right there.
Yes.
And I appreciate you, JB. I appreciate you, Devin. Appreciate you, Seth.
Yes,
I mean, it's a beautiful thing when the people of God can have a conversation, have a discussion, come together. And I feel like we're really helping somebody. And thank you so much for the encouragement about the ministry. I appreciate that. It really touches my heart. And it's so good. And it feels good to have your support. I appreciate that. You're pulling on my heartstrings. You're pulling on them. You're pulling on them. But I appreciate you guys. All right. Thank you, guys. I just want to, these last comments, they like the discussion. I just want you guys to know Tania liked it. Lurtel liked it. Markeisha liked it. A lot of people liked it. And I just wanted to encourage you guys. So blessings to you guys. We love you. We love you with the love of the Lord Jesus. And so please tune in to more events and live discussions from Fruit Bearer Ministries and Single Save But No Kids. That's SS&K. God bless you guys. Hey, y'all take care. Jared.
Thank
Devin,
you.
Chuck, be blessed.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Peace and love.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Love
Right.
y'all.